Yo! Welcome back to One More Meta. My name's Derek, and today we are taking a look at another deck tech. We're actually moving on from Ikoria, jumping over to Core Set 21, because spoilers have started and they are just ridiculous. The reprints are just absolutely insane. The new cards are just so spicy, and the spiciest of those is none other than Fiery Emancipation. Now, if you want any of these just insane cards in Core Set 21, head on over to TCGPLAYER. You're going to be able to find anything you need on TCGPLAYER. Absolutely. If you want full arts, alternate arts, old arts, basically anything, head on over to TCGPLAYER. Use the affiliate link down below. Anything you get with that link will help support the channel and help us get out more and better content. We really, really do appreciate the help. Now, getting into today's deck tech, I mentioned Fiery Emancipation. Obviously, that can't be our commander. This actually won't even be a deck that's necessarily focused on just tutoring out this card every game. More so the spirit of this card. When I see this card, the first thing I think of is just massive red and stompy. Just want to hit things in the face and see the damage be tripled. And that, at least that's what comes to me. You know, you can go burn, you can go a number of directions, but I just think big red stompy. And to me, no commander really makes me think just massive stompy red more than Feldon of the Third Path. Because what better way to get massive creatures out than cheating them out when you're reanimating them? And I know mono red reanimator sounds like something that is just made up, but Feldon does help us do that. Now, if you're not familiar with Feldon, it's a red and a red for a human artificer that just does some crazy stuff. Also has one of the saddest backstories in Magic, so if you need a good cry, then yeah, go ahead and read his backstory. But he also has a crazy activated ability where you can pay 2 and a red and tap him to make a token copy of any creature in your graveyard. It's an artifact, gains haste, and then you sack it at the end of turn, which is, it's crazy. For a number of reasons, because you get a few different things coming into play here. One, it doesn't exile the creature, so you can consistently choose a creature over and over again if you wanted to, which is amazing. 2, you're going to get all those ETBs, obviously, and then it doesn't exile the token, it sacks it. So that right there, you can get death triggers, which is so cool and something that a lot of effects like this you don't normally get. Usually it's an exile. So that is something really cool that we can utilize throughout, our creature choices in the deck. Basically how it's going to play out isn't super complicated. We do have tons of looting type and wheel type effects in red, so we want to dump stuff into our graveyard, go ahead, get Feldon out, and just start reanimating some massive creatures way before they should ever be hitting the battlefield. Now, with this red reanimator strategy that Feldon brings, you get a lot of flexibility. You can go really far into Eldrazi. You can jump all the way into a dragon theme. You can go into whatever you want as long as it's big and scary. You're going to want to reanimate it with Feldon. I picked some of my favorites and some of the coolest effects I thought that I wanted in the deck, but you have a ton of flexibility with especially the creature slots in this deck. A lot of the instant sorcery and artifacts you're going to want in there to make the deck run, but really with the creatures you can put whatever you want, and I love commanders like that. But obviously for this deck, end goal, beat people in the face, and if we can get Fiery Emancipation out, that'll happen way, way faster than usual. And for Feldon, that can actually be pretty fast. Jumping into the creatures, like I said, tons of flexibility. We have a lot of flexibility. We want a good amount of creatures in there because red's not the best at filling the graveyard. It's decent, but we want to make sure we have access. It'd be really sad to just get your Feldon out, go ahead and try to activate it, and then there's no creatures in the graveyard. You don't want to be casting these things for the regular casting costs. Dragon Mage is the first one I want to talk about. This card is awesome. It allows us to fill our graveyard, and it allows us to further get our strategy going. This is one of those, it's great to be one of the first cards you can loot away, because once you get this out and you can, reanimate it every turn, you can start filling your graveyard and picking and choosing what you want. And it is just a great way to do it on an effect, a big massive flyer with evasion. Yeah, it's hard to get this blocked, especially if you get it out early. Shout out to Kyle, because Drakuseth is an absolute tank in this deck. This card is ridiculous. When I played against Kyle's deck and it was the commander at first, I was like, oh, it's just the big red dragon, what's going to happen? And then it hit the battlefield and started swinging. I was like, that's what's going to happen. My whole board's going to be gone and I'm going to get hit in the face a lot. So it is much more powerful than it seems. It appears just to be the, every set has that big dragon. This one's a little different. It's really powerful. And in this deck, being able to cheat it out, yeah, it's going to be hitting people fast, and you can start clearing boards and really making it hard for people to catch up. And then another one of my absolute just favorite big, giant, scary red creatures of all time is Etali Primal Storm. This card is just so good as a commander in the 99, but in this deck, getting to go ahead and get it out hasty every time with your commander is just crazy. You can cast a whole bunch of stuff off opponents' decks. It's just such a fun and powerful card, and to me, it has to be, at this point, it has to be an auto-include in a Feldon deck just because yeah, we get a lot of cool ETBs, we got a lot of cool death triggers, all that type of stuff, but that attack trigger, because the token has haste, it's a must, and it is so much fun, and especially it's great cards like this that scale with the opponent's decks. You can only cast something as scary as your opponents are playing, so it can't be too mad at you, right? And like I said, with these beaters, so much flexibility. It's the biggest emphasis I have for the creatures. Again, I went more on big, scary, beating people in the face creatures. You can go full in on cool ETBs and death triggers and really focus on that, a number of things. But within these creatures, there are some slots I kind of see as just essential, even within all the big stompy creatures. And that's going to be stuff like Magus of the Wheel, or stuff like Mad Prophet, basically, or Rummaging Goblin. That's another one in there. We want looters within our creatures as well. The more looters we can get, the better. Obviously, this is not stuff we want to reanimate, but these are the type of cards where we do want them out early so that we can fill those graveyards. So I think regardless, you want those in the creature slot. Seasoned Pyromancer is another one that really fits this role well. It's a little expensive, so it's really not necessary for the deck. But if you opened it in a pack or anything, Seasoned Pyromancer really fits well in here as well, because you can, get that engine going, discard stuff, and you get some tokens out of it, which isn't bad either. Now, speaking of pricier cards, this is one that I really love in the deck. It's gotten a little bit cheaper as of late because it's been reprinted a bunch, but that's Purphoros, God of the Forge. Purphoros is super powerful in this deck, and it's kind of underrated because it's incremental. One thing you'll notice in a deck like this when you get Purphoros out and people see it isn't a token deck, focus might get taken away. Now, it's not a good idea if it is, but it might be, because if they see you bringing out one big creature every turn, it's like, I'm taking two. What's happening? It's really not that bad. But that adds up fast, and I just love that little incremental value. It's a 4-drop, it sticks around, it's really hard to remove, and just that little bit of extra damage is something I love in the deck. And I will say it for the last time now, flexibility. That is the emphasis on these creatures. This is the type of deck where I can go in and switch out 5 to 10 creatures in there and basically just test out different slots with new big stompy things, and the deck's going to run the same. And I love decks like that, and you will have a chance to just put in all your favorites. So moving on to the artifacts, and like I said before, the rest of the categories are going to be a little bit more rigid. Creatures were all about flexibility. The rest of these are about enabling you to have that flexibility and be able to get all these massive creatures out. So you're going to have a lot of ramp in your artifact slot. No surprise here, when mono red, you need all the ramp you can get with the artifacts. And in addition to the ramp, though, we also have a package of tappy, untappy effects. Because while our commander is great just being able to reanimate, one big creature a turn, getting 2 is a lot better. And especially because it only costs 3 to do, late game, we're going to need a little bit more of an impact than just the one creature. So stuff like Mage Right Stone and 1,000-Year Elixir or Puppet Strings, different things like that are going to be phenomenal to let us just get more of an impact over time. Sundial of the Infinite's also just a must-play card in the deck, just because you can keep those tokens. You can use it to where you don't reach that end of turn, and all of a sudden these tokens stick around. So yeah, if you get the Sundial of the Infinite out, this deck, the power level just jumps a lot, because all of a sudden you're keeping these massive, severely undercosted beaters that you're getting every turn, and things can get scary fast. A couple of more utility artifacts that I do think are very crucial to how this deck will play out is, one's going to be Mirage Mirror. This card in general just needs to be in more decks, for sure. The fact that you can just copy things, and you're going to have such big, scary creatures that it can become a copy of and swing. You're going to have such crucial artifacts for tapping and untapping that it can become a copy of. It's just a phenomenal card, and in this deck specifically, it can have just a massive impact. And don't forget, it can also copy Fiery Emancipation as well. So all of a sudden, 9 times? Yeah. No, you don't need to worry about math. Opponents are dead. That's basically what it turns into if you can copy that. Mirage Mirror just needs to be more decks in general. And this deck is going to be perfect for it because it gives us some flexibility you kind of might lose in mono red. Speaking of flexibility, Trading Post is another must play in this deck. It allows us to get a discard outlet. We don't care about life gain, but discarding is amazing. We can sack artifacts, we can sack creatures, and we have a bunch of artifact creatures. We can get so much value. We can draw cards, we can bring artifacts back. So many things this one card allows us to do. This can be the MVP in a lot of games because it basically picks all the little parts of things you need done. The sorceries are super simple. Looting and wheels. Whatever looting and wheel effects you want. Obviously, you can get really affordable ones like Faithless Looting and Cathartic Reunion, all the way up to the crazy expensive ones like a Wheel of Fortune. You don't need that in the deck, clearly. So you just, basically whatever you can put in there. Reforge the Soul is one you're definitely going to want because it is that full wheel effect. But really just filling it with as many Faithless Looting, Cathartic Reunion, Tormenting Voice, as many of those effects as possible in the sorcery slot. Because that's really how you get the engine going early game. They're pretty cheap to cast, and you can just get everything going. You want a critical mass of these effects in the deck. And it also allows for good card selection, because if you end up with a hand of just a bunch of big beaters and nothing else, you're not in a good spot. We can discard those and draw to the other things that we need. Now with the enchantments, zero surprise, Fiery Emancipation's in the deck. Again, it's gonna be, you're gonna have the most fun games when this card gets out because stuff is gonna, people are gonna get nervous, people are gonna start sweating real fast. But on top of that, the enchantments have some of the other most powerful cards in the deck as well. Another one is Vicious Shadows. I love this card. I really want to put this in more decks. It is just such a powerful effect, especially in Commander nowadays where there's so much card draw just on Commanders themselves. This is a really necessary card to kind of punish overabundance of resources in some decks. So it's an expensive enchantment, 7 mana to get out, I get that, but this is the type of card, especially in a deck like this where you swing with massive creatures, they got a chump block. And if most likely going to want to do with some multiple creatures, your creatures are going to be dying in a turn. You'll get plenty of triggers with this. And yeah, plenty of triggers with this will be plenty of opponents dead. And then just as crucial to me is Warstorm Surge. This card is bonkers. It's the ETB punch someone in the face, and it is such a cool effect. And it's good in a lot of big stompy decks, but so good in this because, again, we're getting extra value out of our ETB with these massive creatures. It's guaranteeing combat in, and it's huge to be able to get non-combat damage in. So this is a great card that can function as a finisher, especially if we can get in situations where we're getting multiple activations of Feldon. But with the instance, there's really only 2, so might as well address both. Chaos Warp, it's mono red, you want it in there. There's no reason not to run it. It's been reprinted a bunch, so it's usually a pretty affordable card. It's just so versatile and so powerful. And guess what? Thrill of possibility, get more looting effects, because like I said, we really can't have enough of those. And surprise here, we actually have a Planeswalker. Notice I don't really play a ton of Planeswalkers, I'm not a huge fan of them. But when they are necessary, I kind of want to put them in. And with this deck, the Ready Scrap Savant is perfect. It lets us loot. We have so many crucial artifacts in the deck that it does synergize really well. And I'll repeat it again, critical mass and looting effects. It's a really, really powerful card in the deck, and it is repeatable, which makes it even better. Now, looking at the lands, 2 of the most important ones are going to be Flamekin Village and Handwire Battlements because they can give haste. Our commander really wants, I didn't go super in the direction of a ton of haste enablers in this deck, but the more powerful you want the deck to be, the more haste enablers you want. I put a decent number in there, but the stronger you want the deck, you are going to want to kind of get a critical mass of these. This is kind of meant to be a more casual stompy deck, so it's not optimized in that sense, but you might as well, these are cheap lands, you might as well throw them in to get that haste. Gyro Reach Sanitarium is also amazing. It's a discard effect on a land. Again, we get what we want on our lands. It lets us get more stuff in the graveyard. And then just random aside that I feel like I talk about enough, but just in case I don't, you notice both Ghost Quarter and Tectonic Edge. Play more land destruction. Play more targeted land destruction, especially on stuff like Ghost Quarter and Tectonic Edge. They're cheap cards. It really doesn't take up a slot. And it's so crucial because when you do need it and it's there, you will feel amazing. You'll also notice I did put snow-covered lands in the deck. Not at all necessary. A lot of the scrying sheets I know and extra planar lands got expensive. Those really don't matter that much. You can just play regular mountains. If you have all the stuff for it, put it in. It gives you a little bit of incremental value, but it's definitely not like a crucial part of the deck for you. You can just run regular mountains. So that's going to do it for all the categories. Now we're going to jump into the game-winning step. How are we winning the game in this deck? And I feel like this might be the most straightforward deck of all time. Usually there's little fancy ways, little tricky ways, nothing fancy or tricky. We are reanimating massive creatures and swinging at people. That is plan A, plan B, plan C, and plan D. Now if you want some versatility, you might want to throw in something like a Chandra's Ignition or different things. I didn't go that route. I went all in on Feldon. Even late game, when life totals get low, if you're only getting 1 activation, getting a massive, terrifying creature might be enough to end it. And I think Fiery Emancipation is going to be the type of card that will serve as a perfect finisher. We want to get damage through. Warstorm Surge, Fiery Emancipation, Perforos, cards like that to just supplement our damage are going to be what's key. But in general, we're just punching people in the face. And that is going to do it for this week's deck tech. I really hope y'all enjoyed it. Kind of simple and straightforward. It's a very simple, fun deck, and I do love decks like this. And not that Fiery Emancipation is a simple card, but it is very straightforward. And I felt like it really, this type of deck really just kind of captures the heart of a card like that. It really captures just the pure, happy stompiness of it, and I love it. Please let me know down in the comments below what some of your favorite creatures are for a Feldon deck. Again, I mentioned the flexibility about 30 times. There's tons of stuff you can throw in. It's whatever you pick of the litter, whatever you want. Definitely let me know because I would love to hear about different ideas that you can slot in and out. As always, a huge shout out to all the patrons. We love and appreciate y'all so much. And with M21, again, spoilers aren't done yet. Stuff is getting crazy. There's going to be lots of fun deck techs to come. Might be legendary creatures, might be random cards like today. I don't know. But from what I'm seeing, pure spice in there, and I can't wait. But until then, I will see y'all next time.